Why is my period so fucked?
Am I really going through perimenopause?
Why am I constantly getting UTIs?
Is squirting real?
Why do we know so much less about diseases that affect women than men and about the female body? You're listening to the Whisper Network. I'm Katie Boland.
And I'm Emily Hampshire.
And on this show, we are united as vaginal anthropologists who want to talk about the reasons why so many aspects of women's health are misunderstood, understudied, and even ignored. And that's not okay.
It is not okay. There are a lot of layers to this.
And we want to peel back the layers and find out how we got here, what needs to change for women to get the care and attention that we deserve. But let's back up.
Can't believe you called us vaginal anthropologists.
Emily?
Yes?
What are we doing here today, and who are we to each other?
Katie and I have known each other since we were child actors.
You know, when I first met Emily, she was the best actress in Toronto. Now she is a full-fledged star, but she was a rising star. Everyone talked about how talented and special she was. I remember seeing her for the first time at a party, and it was after I'd watched you in a movie, and I thought you were so talented. I was maybe like 11 or 12 when I first saw Emily. So she moved to LA. I moved to LA after. I would ask her for advice on what to do with downturns in my career or for help.
Oh, because we had the same agent, and
Yes.
I remember he was like, little Katie Boland is the younger you. And you were kind of like a younger me. We were
We're both brunettes.
Brunettes, and that's all you need.
That's all But for my whole life, looked up to Emily from a career standpoint. We do have a big sister, little sister dynamic, but in recent years, it's shifted because I'm much more comfortable talking about all things on the island of being a woman biologically, whether that's medical stuff, just physical stuff. And Emily now will text me all her female-related questions. Could you give us an example of a text I might receive on a Wednesday at noon?
On a Wednesday at noon? Okay. Hey, Katie, I'm gonna send you a picture right now. Hopefully you're not showing your phone to anyone. It's a picture of my vajayjay. Or actually, no, sorry, it's of my friend's vajayjay. And she wants to know, is there anything weird about this? Would you say this is normal? And can you ask your mom?
And so when Emily would ask me something that I didn't know the answer to, I actually would text my mom. And if she didn't know, then she would text a friend of hers. And that's how this podcast
That's how my
was
vagina
born.
went
Yes,
around
yes.
town.
You're-
That's how my career started.
Your totally normal vagina circulated. But this podcast was born from the idea, Emily and I realized the biggest whisper network in the world is women's bodies.
And I was like, oh my God, can you please do a vagina podcast? I think that's such a good idea because I need that. And then I put the cringy face and said I could never be part of it, though, because I can't even say the word bra in front of my mother. But you have to do this for me, Katie. I will support you. And then in brackets, in really small font, silently.
Why did you agree to do this with me when I begged you?
So I was like, if I don't do this, I'm kind of part of the problem. And I guess I was thinking, what role do we as women play in our bodies being whisper networks? What is our complicity in all the whispering, in the silence?
Why is the female body a mystery? Why is it medically a mystery? To the people that we share our bodies with, a mystery? To ourselves? And why the F is it so filled with shame?
So, okay, real talk. I'm very scared about doing this. I am here. I'm going to geo-block my mother. I'm going to geo-block everybody I know from hearing this. But I am committed because I do feel like if I can talk about this, so can other women, and maybe this stupid shame cycle will end.
Now, before we get too deep here, a couple disclaimers. Our purpose with the show is to talk about the underdiscussed aspects of women's health. But obviously, we are not doctors or medical experts, and everything we say is based on our personal experiences and should not be taken as medical advice.
And a note on that term, women's health. Katie and I are both cisgendered women, but the words women's health and women's bodies encompass a very wide range of experiences and identities. We will do our best to keep our language inclusive, but again, we are mostly speaking about our own experiences and apologize for any slip-ups we make.
Yeah, and in researching this podcast, it was funny, it was sad, it was informative, and it was also propelled by some rage.
Why rage, Katie?
Because, and I want to preface this by saying I don't just look around the world and blindly think that everything is a patriarchy or everything is a result of misogyny, but women suffer physically and mentally all the time with no help. And it's the whispering and the shame and the confusion that we all experience that makes us mad. But it also is what drives us. So my mission in life is to be able to help ease women's suffering. Emily's mission in life is to be able to say the word period. And so, we talked together a lot about, okay, why now? Why are we doing this? It's not why now, but why not? So yes, this is a show about women's bodies, but it's like our bodies themselves, complicated and about our broad experience that contains multitudes.
I was on the way here, I was thinking about why am I so ashamed of this? And I've thought about that a lot. But then today was the first time something came to me where I was like, all the ads that I grew up with were all like ads for female hygiene products were all kind of coded with this, you can keep it secret. We'll make it smaller so you can hide it in your purse, the tampons and the everything. Like, there's something that, at least for my generation, was marketed to be, you should be embarrassed of this, which I never realized until today.
For me, I'm able to talk about it in a setting like this, but I still hate my body. My body dysmorphia is out of control. So there's, when we were talking earlier about the hypocrisy or how do we participate in this as women, I'm a culprit too, because I act as if I'm completely comfortable with all this and I have a good relationship with my body and sexuality, et cetera, but I don't at all. And I think throughout doing this podcast, it's going to be interesting to dive into the duality that exists there. Sure, I can talk about it here, but if I look at myself in the mirror, all I see is what I think's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's messed up. I say it's messed up, but it's actually my normal. Except, I think we're similar in that way that we've had body issues. But what has been really different for me, I guess the thing that changed was when I started being with women sexually. It totally changed my perception of women in this weird way, because I think I used to only see it through the male gaze and what was, I thought, sexy to a guy and how I had to look or dress. And I thought that meant having this quote unquote perfect body, which was, when I grew up, very thin.
Yeah.
And just even the way I would dress, if I went out with a guy, I'd wear at one point a short skirt, which is hilarious to think of me now in a short skirt. But when I started being with women, it was the first time I saw through my own eyes what I liked. And I was like, oh, I'm really attracted to the female body in a lot of the times more, I guess, voluptuous than I would have allowed myself to ever be. And also I'm just attracted to women being totally themselves and not trying to perfect. And I find that really attractive, which has allowed me to relax a little bit on myself.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my boyfriend the other day, and he asked me, who are you trying to be so skinny for? Because he's like, it's not for me. Is it for you? Or what is this about? Why don't you eat? And I couldn't come up with a good answer. And I think there's a lot to unpack there as far as societal messaging, et cetera, control issues. But I do think it's sort of interesting to tread the line between I have all these feminist ideals, but I would never let myself have a full meal. So that's that's such bullshit,
Yeah.
you know? So I hope in doing this podcast, we can like blow the top off that a little bit and we can all interrogate ourselves a little bit more because, yeah, it's the male gaze, it's society. All these outside factors are perpetuating women's issues with their bodies and why we don't know anything about ourselves medically. But also, we are complicit in this. I am complicit in this. I'm participating in a system that I don't even believe in.
Yeah. And you just admitting that here
Yeah.
is kind of, it just actually gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That, like, to say that out loud, like, because I know this about you. And we kind of coded talk about stuff with eating and body. And even that, the way I'm saying that, like, eating and body and period, everything I say that I'm ashamed of goes real small in my mouth and can't come out.
I know. And it's like, it's interesting because like when you are dealing with body stuff or not eating, you'll go out to dinner and everyone will notice. Like you sense that people are noticing you're not eating that much, but it is sort of like it's a joke or no one says anything. And that extends to every part of the female body experience. Like if I have my period, I don't want anybody to know. Or I apologize and I'm like, I'm sorry, like I'm bleeding, you know?
Yeah. And I've actually, what is so crazy to me is that I remember being with a guy who was younger, and I say younger just because I feel like a lot of this is generational.
For sure.
But this guy was, I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Say it.
Cut it out.
Yeah, you cut it out if you feel weird later, yeah.
So we were together and I was on my period, but I didn't want to say anything, and I was being like, weird about fooling around. I'm like, no, bad time, whatever. And he's like, what do you mean? You on your period? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's so hot. And I can't even, Katie, I don't even know if I could say this, but you do the whole thing. And anyways, it was actually like, if I at a certain point let go of my crazy. It was the hottest thing that has ever happened to me, maybe. It was, I know I didn't really fully describe that in detail,
but because you
can
feel
imagine.
so accepted. And also, it's like, not to get started on this, but think about how much bodily fluid we put up with.
Oh my God. I've never thought of it. That is so true.
But it's like, why? Yeah, why is that so embarrassing? Why is that something that we're like, oh no, it's going to turn them off, or I need to like.
So right, because it's like we're supposed to be like, yeah, come on my face.
Yeah, it's very to interrogate ourselves about this, to also together interrogate society, to talk to doctors and experts and other women who are dealing with all of these issues. Like I do hope that I hope the Whisper Network slowly starts to go away.
Imagine if by the end of this podcast, I can articulate those words that I've said here really mumbled, and they'll probably be like, it's unintelligible. We can't let this air. But by the end of this podcast, imagine I'm able to say those things that will have done good work.
Imagine I'm able to like myself.
Oh,
you know?
Katie, I like you so much.
I like you so much, too.
This is the Whisper Network. We'll be right back with some stats about the female body and the history of misogyny in medicine that might shock you. It shocked me.
I was shocked.
I was the most shocked.
Okay, so we want to hit on some, facts about women's bodies and the medical system that you, listener, may not know. And we want to also say that it's not your fault that you know nothing about your body. So just to start off, women are more likely to be misdiagnosed than men and take longer to be diagnosed with heart disease and some cancers and are less likely to be offered pain medication. Our symptoms are more likely to be written off as anxiety or as being all in our head. The anxious female, the hysterical female, has been a ghost looming and woven through all of medical history. And sense that women's bodies were not just different, but broken is obvious, not in just the ways doctors spoke about the female anatomy, but in the medical vocabulary itself. The female external genitalia was termed pudenda, a Latin word which means things to be ashamed of.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my God, Katie.
Yes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The female external genitalia was termed pudenda, a Latin word that means things to be ashamed of. We have used the male model, meaning male bodies, for diagnosis, for treatment as the gold standard, which has led to continued misrepresentation, misdiagnosis, and under-recognition of illness in women. Only men's bodies were medically studied, and it wasn't until 1993 that women were mandated to be included in clinical research.
1993?
1993. I was 5.
I can't do math. I'm sorry. I can't. I know I've gone over this pudenda thing again. So this is just, it's shocking to me because I'm so obsessed with etymology and hearing that word, the meaning behind that word is things to be ashamed of. I'm like, oh, I didn't just make this thing up, that I'm ashamed of my femaleness in any way. It's like, it's been there from the ancient times.
It's baked into our DNA.
Okay.
You know? So on that topic, derived from the Greek word hysteria, meaning womb, hysteria was thought to be caused by a uterus moving through the woman's body, eventually strangling her and inducing disease. Wandering uterus syndrome is often described in medical texts, was thought only to occur if a woman was not pregnant. So this also taps into a lot of medical issues and knowledge today, which suggests, for example, if you have endometriosis, one of the cures that they'll offer women is get pregnant. So
that's what happened to my mom.
Yes.
Actually, I'm a miracle baby. So my mom thought she couldn't have kids, and then she did and had endometriosis, and I happened, and she says that I cleaned that all out. Anyways, that might be also problems with my shame.
But also it hits on a larger issue, which is like, if you're not a mother, you're not fulfilling your body's duties. So, that why are we told like it's our female biological duty to have children, or else our bodies are going to rebel against us? So it seems ridiculous to imagine physicians once believing that women's nerves were too highly strung for them to receive an education, or that their ovaries would become too inflamed if they read too much. Yes. But when clinical research exempts women from studies and trials on the grounds that female hormones fluctuate too much and upset the consistency of results, medical culture is reinforcing centuries-old myths that women are too biologically erratic to be useful or valuable. And if you think this all is steeped in history and feels really archaic, it's happening in our modern society too. Lab animals are more likely to be male than female. Women and men react very differently to medicine due to metabolism, hormones, size. Why isn't that looked at more? Why are men diagnosed with ADHD 3 times more than women? Studies have found that 55% of women feel their pain is ignored, creating something called the gender pain gap.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is the Whisper Network. We'll be right back with some of the stories we heard from you about women's pain being ignored or excused, and some women even being totally misdiagnosed by the medical system.
We put a call out to our followers on Instagram to get some personal stories about trying to receive medical care while female, and wow, did people have stories. We got a huge response.
So we wanted to share some of those stories with you, anonymously, of course. Katie, okay, you start.
Oh, hi, waving emoji. When I was told I would only need 2 ibuprofen for my IUD insertion and that it would be exactly like normal period cramping and I would be able to go back to work after. It was the worst pain in my entire life, and the experience was so awful that I had an anxiety attack in the room because I was so ill-prepared by the doctors of what to expect. I couldn't move for 3 days, and no matter how much ibuprofen I took, it was a massive amount of pain. When I told my primary care doctor, whom I trust, she was appalled and was like, I would have written you a script for pain and one for anti-anxiety meds knowing your history. If a doctor ever tells you anything like that again, call me.
Wow.
I got another one from another woman. I broke my arm badly and had surgery with screws and a metal plate in it. Over a month later, I wasn't able to move my arm well and I was in pain. The doctor accused me of not doing my PT exercises and put me on an antidepressant. I got a second opinion from a female orthopedic surgeon. She did an x-ray and the screws were coming loose and told me it was most likely infected and I would need surgery again. Thankfully, I got a second opinion because my bone was deteriorating because I had a staph infection.
Oh, my God.
Another one. A male doctor wouldn't allow me to get a cervical exam. Same doctor missed that cancer in my mom.
Wow.
And you have some examples too, right, Emily?
I got a ton. No,
Okay.
I haven't read through all these, so this is first time. But here's one. Being repeatedly told that I was imagining an internal swelling that turned out to be a tumor, told I was dramatic and a typical hysterical female patient. That sounds insane to me that this happens.
It took me 7 years to get diagnosed with PCOS and endometriosis. I probably went to the ER 15 times a year, and they kept saying it was just a painful period or anxiety.
Wow. Oh my gosh. This one, okay. I was once told during a PAP while the speculum was in me, for a big girl, you're really small. Oh my God. This one's funny. This is in response to this. Don't get me started. You're going to have so many responses.
This one is sad. I had a miscarriage in 2014 at 11 weeks, and they didn't do anything. No heartbeat, told me to come back when I spotted. 2 weeks later, when I started spotting, told me to call back Monday because it was a Friday evening. I had a complete miscarriage on my bathroom floor that night. Why didn't they do a D&C immediately? And why did I listen to them? I was naive and sad and scared. Crazy, huh? But I'm lucky I had support in my life, and not everyone has that. Thanks for posting this. And that is just a small sample of the horror stories that people shared with us.
Which to me is basically proof that it's not just me who needs this.
Or me. And we want to thank you so, so much for listening today, because let's end the Whisper Network. Let's share information, bring more attention to women's issues that deserve investigation, and let's learn together. And I think I speak for Emily and I both when I say that we're extremely excited to continue this journey.
Okay, I think you're speaking for yourself. This journey has been a nightmare for me. I'm doing it for all of us, so you're welcome.
Here's what you can look forward to on this season of the Whisper Network.
It is not just as simple as vanity or thoughtlessness that encourages us towards these quote-unquote trends. It's the terror that we can be left behind.
Something that seems so common with PMDD or largely PMS is like the inability to make the connection.
Yeah, like we're like goldfish.
The second I started talking about it, a lot of friends of mine and family members came out of the woodwork and were like, oh, I haven't had an orgasm either. And I was like, this is crazy that none of us have had this conversation before.
I'm Emily Hampshire.
And I'm Katie Boland.
The Whisper Network is produced by Antica Productions. Our senior producer is Allison Broverman. Samantha McLean is our development producer. Laura Reguer is our executive producer. And Sydney Fior is our production manager. This episode was sound designed by Christy Chan and Philip Wilson, with theme music by Michael Boland.